Hello viewers, this is Mitul here. In this module 6, so far we have covered up module 6.1, 6.2 and now we will be covering about the 6.3, which is the types of conditional statement. So all these three which are these conditional statements that we will be covering. The first one is the if then else, where it is like a logical condition evaluated as true. If it executes the T-SQL statements under the if block, otherwise condition is evaluated, then it is false, and executes the T-SQL statement under the else block. The second kind of conditional statement is while. It's a kind of a loop which continuously executes to until the given condition, the logical condition becomes true. It continues to execute the intermittent T-SQL statements or a block of statements which within the loop. Okay, it can be stopped using the break or continue using the continue statement. Then there is a third type of conditional statement we'll be covering is the case statement. Case statements are mainly used for logical condition evaluation, and we'll see more in the detail for that. So let's get started for that. Okay, so here in this, like the first one is the if then else statement that we'll be covering. So what is the purpose of if then else statement that we use, right? Why do we use it? So we need to use, or we might want to use it just to evaluate the Boolean expression basically. Now what is Boolean expression is, like, you understand, like, which is like 1 equal to 1 or 1 equal to 0 or something, right? Which returns the result in the form of true or false. That is what we identify as Boolean expression, right? So this kind of expression is what the user would write using these statements, and then this statement is basically providing us the functionality which can help us evaluate such an expression and execute the block respective within that fulfillment of like the statement. Basically, suppose if the Boolean expression becomes true, then in that case it will execute the T-SQL statements within the if block. If it becomes false, then it will go to the else branch. Okay, under this else, whatever is the T-SQL statement or a statement of block that you may have, that will get executed. Okay, so that's the main purpose of this if then else condition statement. The first example, let us just take an example of it, is like we are declaring a variable of integer type, and we are assigning a value using the getDate function, which will give you the current date with timestamp. And out of this date, what we are fetching into this variable is just the year part of the date. Okay, so supposingly if there is a date, the full date will be like like this, and in the hours, like if we say, then might be like this, suppose. Okay, now so out of this, what it will fetch using the year function will be this much part out of this date. Okay, so we have fetched the year part of it in the variable, and now what we are trying to do here is we are trying to evaluate that expression, or say like a value what you inserted into that. Using that, we have created a Boolean expression here which will return some result at the evaluation. Say like we are dividing the year, suppose say 2025 mode by 4, meaning divide by 4, and the result, until the final result comes, is like in the integer form. If it is equal to 0, if it is divisible by 4, and if the result of that is 0, then it's a leap year, right? Otherwise it is not a leap year. So let's just see whether the current year is a leap year or not a leap year, right? So just run this. So current year is not a leap year, means this condition, this logical condition has become false because it is not divisible by 4 with a remainder of 0, correct? For that reason it has gone into the else part. Now let us understand about the second while statement. What is the purpose of that? It is used to repeat the execution of statements or block of statements until the Boolean expression is true. So it is again repetitively executing the block of statements within this while loop, and then it will break when this condition becomes true. Okay. Now if you want to pause it before this condition becomes true, then you can use the break, or you want to continue up till a certain condition, then you can, or maybe you want to skip some of the values, or say some of the iterations within that for a particular condition, then you can use this continue statement. Okay, so that is what I'm just mentioning over here. Now just let us see the example. What we are doing here, we are declaring a variable of integer type. We are assigning a value using the getDate function, which will give me the timestamp value with the current date. And out of this date, which is like a system date function, out of this date we are fetching only the year part of it using the year function, which is again a system function. Now using this year function, whatever value you will fetch, which will be like 2025 for the current date, say like this is the current year, which is 2025. Now say out of 2025 you want to subtract 5 numbers, right? So what it will become? 2020, right? It will become 2020, and then it will start up with the loop, and then it will go up to what value? It will go up to the 2025 until it is becoming equal to that, correct? So it will just keep on incrementing the year and execute this condition. If this condition becomes true, then show and or say like a print this statement, or else it will just keep on incrementing the value, right? So let's just see. Right, so in this time frame, like starting from 2020 till 2025, the current year, we've got 2 leap years, right? The first one was 2020, and then the second leap year was 2025, the last year, right? So there were 2 leap years within that. Now suppose you do not want to say like you do not want to print the first one, instead you want to print the second one, or say like you just want to display the first one and not the second one. How can you achieve that kind of thing, which is the break and statement, break and continue statement way? Now first of all, what we will do is we will try to display only the first leap year out of this loop, right? Out of this loop we will just display the first value, which is 2020 only. So how can you display that one? Is using the break statement. What it will do is it will start the loop with it will start the loop starting from 29, right? It will start the loop from 2019. Okay, instead of 2020 we will start it up with the 2019 value, and then what we will do is we will put the while condition, say like variable, and then less than or equal to the current year, which will be the 2025. What it will do, it will first increment the number, means 2019 will become 2020 here, and then it will try to check like if it is divisible by 4 with a remainder of 0 or not. If it is remainder 0, it will enter into this loop, print the statement, and then break the loop, and then come out of it completely. Meaning like the first year supposedly it became 2020, then it will check like whether 2020 is a leap year or not. It will just print that statement and then come out of the loop. That is the use of break statement. It will not allow it to continue subsequent iterations until the last or until the target condition is met, right? It will not allow the loop to continue to that condition. So for that reason the break statements are used. So now let's just see. We are seeing together everything. Why? Because the same variables I am using here, and I do not want to reassign or say redeclare the same variable. For that reason I'm just executing both the blocks together. So let's just see for the easiness. The first one, we displayed the previous results, right? Like the both of the times, like we found that 2 leap years were there in the previous range. Now, as we wanted to display only the first year, the leap year, and then come out of that loop. So it did not print the second year. It did not go up to that year even. It just exited out of the loop starting after printing the statement, which is 2020, right? Now suppose you want to skip a particular year, maybe not, there are 2 leap years, might be there were more than 2. Now you wanted to skip a certain number of values, and after that you just want to display a particular year as a leap year, right? So in our case, just for an example, out of these 2, we wanted to display 2024 rather than the first one, what we are displaying here, right? Now how can we achieve that? We can achieve it using the continue statement. Now let's just see the use of that one. Okay, let me comment this block of code and then uncomment the continue block of code. And now we will run. See, let me explain you first. What we are trying to achieve here is we are trying to skip to the first year, the leap year. We know that very fact, like we want to skip the very first leap year which will come. We are very much sure, we know the condition when it will become true. So we want to skip that year particularly, and we want to just go to the subsequent leap year. That is the continue statements usage. Okay, so it will allow you to move on to the next iteration rather than continuing and checking this condition. So let me just go execute this code and then see. Let's just run this continue statement now once again. All right, so here you see, like it has skipped the first year, which is the leap year, which is 2022, and it has just displayed the 2024 year as a leap year. Okay, so that is the use of continue statement. So now let us just go on to the third statement, which is the case when then else statement. The purpose of it is like to use the it is used basically to evaluate a list of conditions and return the multiple result expression. Okay, now there are two kind of expressions that it is used for. The first one it is used for is the simple case expression. Okay, and then the second kind of expressions are the searched case expression. How those are evaluated is they both of them has a different syntax little bit. So let us just understand. The first one is having the syntax as case and then the input expression. Okay, we'll see in the detail example, but for now just understand like what the syntax says, like case, then put the value for the column maybe, or say like a variable which you want to evaluate against this conditions, against these conditions. Okay, say like one of the input expression you will put in here, and then say when this expression has some value called this boolean expression, and if that value becomes true, okay, then you want to display a particular expression, or else you want to display the some expression which you will mention, right? So that is what you will assign that expression, and eventually this case statement's result will be assigned to a variable or say like an alias. Okay, so let us just see after this, like and the second case will be like the search case expression, in which you may not need to pass, or you may not evaluate a particular value in the form of input expression. Instead you would just directly evaluate the boolean expression condition. If that the particular case is matching, then if the particular case matches, then you display the particular expression or say value, or else you may go to the default value for that. Else is consider say else value or else expression will be your always default result. Okay, that is what you will use as a default result in both these conditions. Okay, so now let us just see both of these examples one by one. So the first example we want to see is the simple case expression, in which I am using couple of columns out of the database AdventureWorks 2019, the production schema, the product table under that. Okay, Now what am I doing here is like the first column I'm wanting to display product number, then I want to display the name, then I want to display the product line. Now product line is my input expression here. Carefully understand, okay, product line is representing all these values, meaning like the table has a column called product line, and that product line column has a value called R, S, M and T, right? All of these are the defined values within this product line column. But we do not want to display those values for the output. We want to show to the user a meaningful value so that user may understand like what this R represents, what this S represents, what this M represents and T represents, right? And say like if there is no value, say like if this product line column has a null value, in that case what we want to display is, we want to display as not applicable or NA, right? For that reason I am putting like this default option as a NA. That is the else condition. If none of these conditions are met, then it will go to the default condition and say NA, means not applicable, considering it as a null, right? And then AND it. This is the first case statement. Okay. First case statement meaning like the example of simple case expression with an input expression. Say like we written this case. Now there is another column which again needs the same kind of case statement to be written. Say like it has a value for the class column. Now classes are defined in the way L, M and H here, which doesn't make sense to the user if he is like a layman. Maybe he doesn't have any business functionality understanding. How would he understand what this L represents, M represents or H, right? So for that reason, for his understanding sake, you want to display it as a meaningful a value in the output, right? So how can you display? You can elaborate it little bit. So like which is low, medium and the high, right? And in the case of default, you want to represent as NA, not applicable in the case of null, right? Likewise, there is a style column, which again is a kind of M, W and U, these three kind of values, which still doesn't make sense to the non-business user. For that to make it meaningful, we have just classified, or maybe we have just we are just displaying as meaningful string so that the user can understand. M represents the man, W represents the women and U represents the unclassified, means it is not representing any of these. It can be used by any of this gender, right? So like that is what, and in that case like if there is a no value means null, then it will be using NA, right? So that is the third condition. Now you may use the if you say like the entire column has very much understandable values, say like in a color column it has like a red, black, blue, silver, gray, all of these kind of values. Now those colors are very identifiable, right? In the form of a value, how it is saved in the table. So we will not go and make any changes to the column called color. Instead we just want to replace a particular single value which is in the form of maybe say like a null value or maybe an empty string or something else. So those kind of values we want to handle using the isNull function. IsNull function will hold the handle the null values out of this color column. Say all of those null values will be represented as NA, means whenever there is a null value, go to this subsequent or say like a optional or say like a alternative value. Okay. So that is the meaning or purpose of this isNull system function. List price is the last column that we will be displaying out of this table. So let's just see them everything together. So see like here we are seeing like the product numbers, then we see the name of the product, then the product line, then we see the class meaning like this, then the style, then color and then the list price. Now little bit we'll scroll it little bit down so that you will understand with respect to all the values where it represents some or the other way the particular values, right? So you may understand what are those different values or the usage. Now seeing to the product name user may not understand like what this HL and all of this, right? HL means like out of this H and L, say like H represents the class, basically is high. Now then there is a road, right? Like a road is what? Road is a product line. Then you see here the product line is sport. So this is the sport product line, right? Now if I had it written like S or maybe R or M or something, you may not understand, right, what this represents, this product line. If it is M, then mountain, right? So those are the meaningful values that will help you to understand the business columns. Now here LL means what? Low level, right? So here it is low. So here the value is low, and then the style is unclassified. Unclassified was represented in the column as U. Okay, but here, or say like yeah, it was classified as U, but we did not have anything to understand like what is U representing. So we gave it some meaningful name so user can understand. Means it is not like a man or women or something. Instead it can be used by any of the genders. Then the colors. So color, you see like here it is very identifiable column. Like we did not want to use the way kind of logic we needed to write it for the other columns. It has the all representable colors that are saved in this, right? Like the silver, maybe black or red, and all of this. So all of these are like understandable, so we did not want. And then the last list price, last column was the list price, so all of these are there, right? So now you see like wherever you see the not applicable value, understand as if like there is no value input into the particular column, means there is a null value for all of these 4 columns. Okay, for that reason the NA values are displayed. So this was the first example, how you would use the simple case expressions. So now you understand, right, like when and how this input expression in this form, like the product line R, S, M and T, like that, that is my input expression way. Now there is another way which is like the searched case expression. How it will be used? It will be used with a variable called case when. I'm giving it a type called varchar 12. I giving the value to that variable as the current date and the current day. Basically out of that current date I am fetching, I'm converting that date into the day, meaning like which day of a week it is, and it will give it in the string format to this variable, so that it will check like whether current day in a week is a weekend, means like it is Saturday or Sunday, then it will fall into this when condition, or else it will go into the else condition. Okay, if it is a weekday it will go to the else condition. If it is a value falling in between the Saturday and Sunday, then it will show this value, means this concatenated. This is like a concat function. What it does basically is there is a one variable value, whatever was there, right? Whatever the current day is, what we are concatenating with a static string. Okay, so that is the purpose of concatenate function. You could use it like a plus symbol as well, or you could use with the system function. It depends. Okay, here the benefit is like a concat function will just omit the null spaces. It will just replace it with a particular empty string or something, right? That's the benefit of it. So here let's just run this. Okay, yeah. All right, so current day is what? Monday is a weekday, correct? So today, say like what is the date and time? Okay, so today say like it is 20th October, right? So now it is considered, say like it is Monday for that today. But suppose if we were working, or maybe we were using the previous day, then what it would do is it will just refer to the previous day as a weekend, and it will fall into the case condition, the previous condition, right? It will go into the previous condition. How can we achieve that? We can use it with the another function called Okay, now let us just run to see. It will show us the previous day, right, instead of the current date, which is a Sunday, correct? So Sunday, they considered it as a weekend, right? Why? Because we are considering the previous day. What we did here is like we subtracted one day from the current date and then we converted into the date name function. Date name function will do what? It will give me the weekday, the current weekday of a week. Say like it is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or what kind of day it is. It will give me in the string format and assign it to this variable. Okay, and then it will just start to evaluate this case statement. Okay, so this is the way you can use all these statements, right? That's it for the day, and thank you. Have a happy learning.